Okay, we are talking about stress today. And hopefully you're handling it okay. If you're not, call her. Nisha Jackson's in the house with Ventana Wellness, and we're going to talk about this subject that, quite frankly, is a killer.
It is a killer.
And
right.
We want to get you de-stressed and chilled out. And I was reading a little bit of history of cultures, and this is by far the most stressed culture in the history of the world.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're always in a hurry. Like, we can't go fast enough. And I think that that is the biggest difference between us and other countries, is that our speed is just so much greater. And that really leads to so much unnecessary stress. And I know I suffer from this too, so I have to keep reminding, every time I do something like this, it reminds me of how important it is to take care of your stress and take care of your mind with stress.
It's a stewardship issue that I think God gave us all to be responsible for, and how you doing with it?
Right.
What is stress?
Well, stress is your body's reaction to get you away from trouble. So there's lots of different types of stress. There's the stress that many of us are in today, which is not the stress we should be in. Yeah. Stress is really meant to be a low to moderate amount of stress, to be able to inspire us to get things done, to move at a good speed, to have an appropriate metabolism. But unfortunately, the stress that we are, involved with today is a stress that releases too much stress hormones into our system. And, we've heard a lot about that, over the years as far as releasing stress hormones, but many people don't really understand what that means. And what it does is, when we ramp up our stress glands, our adrenal glands, and we release so much stress hormone into our system, what happens is it mobilizes all of our internal forces in order for our body to be prepared to handle the stress. So one of those things is our body gets flooded, our system gets flooded with glucose or sugar in our system, because that's what gives us the fuel to be able to handle the stress, because the body can't decipher between, okay, this woman is just stressed out because she doesn't have enough gas in her tank and she's late to pick up her kids and she's got to get to a meeting right after that, and a tiger chasing you. So the body can't really decipher. So what it does is it goes full force. It dumps a bunch of glucose into your system. It's just one of the things that it does. Yeah. And then what does your body do with all that glucose? Then the body has to produce a bunch of insulin in order to handle the glucose. So the insulin, because the insulin helps kind of moderate the blood sugar levels, right? So the insulin is a fat storage hormone, and it causes inflammation. So you can kind of start to see the breakdown of the body over a period of time if you do that all day long, where you're releasing these large amounts of stress hormone because you're angry, or you're late, or you've packed your to-do list with unnecessary items that you're just letting yourself down for. Whatever it might be, your children are sick, you don't have enough money, all of these things are weighing heavy on your mind. These releases of cortisol into your system constantly causes your body to be in a stressful state, which then leads to inflammation, heart disease, obesity, diabetes. So you can kind of see where it starts. And we've known this really since the late 60s, early 70s. I remember the first book came out in 1970. I remember my dad had this book. It was Type A Personality and Heart Disease, because my dad's very Type A, and it's genetic, And so anyway, and so we've known this for a long time, that this leads to physical complications and disease. So we have to somehow, even though we can't get rid of a lot of the stressful things in our life, obviously not all of us can quit our jobs and trade our children off or whatever, go lay on the beach in Hawaii. Yeah. We can't do those things. So somehow we have to reprogram our brain and our circumstances in order to handle the stress, because it is killing us, and it does lead to really the top killers today.
All right, we're talking about this, and by the way, if you want to join us, you're welcome to 541-776-5368 or toll free at 800-373-5368. This is a big issue because it shows up in fatigue, shows up in high blood pressure, stress, shows up in all kinds of ways. You have a a gift, I guess. God's gifted you with the eye to reach out and just say, that's your problem. This is it. It's the adrenal issue.
Yes.
Is that what you're seeing most?
You know, when I first, 22 years ago, when I first started really looking at hormone imbalances and different medical issues, I wasn't really focusing on the stress glands because we didn't really know that much about it at that time. But now we realize that the adrenal glands, the stress glands, are really the master glands, and everything else is downstream from that. So your ovarian hormones or the testicular hormones, male and female hormones, the thyroid hormones, the gut, the neurobrain chemicals, everything is downstream from the stress glands. So unfortunately, it really starts with how we're tending to our stress and our lifestyle, because it can ransack nearly every process in your body if you don't take care of it. And we're not really giving it enough credit right now, because a lot of people say, oh, well, there's nothing I can do with my stress. And that might be true. You know, they might not be able to do anything about their financial situation, living in an abusive home. I mean, there's many things that people can't do a lot about. And but there are things that you can do with how you manage the stress, and I think that's what I really like to focus on with patients, is getting their levels balanced and optimized, so they can kind of see things a little bit differently, and then they can handle the stress.
So where do you start?
So the first thing I do is I start with the top three, which I think are the most important, besides testing them and getting them balanced, which I think is absolutely imperative. Because if somebody's had stress for a while, what we see is the male and female hormones declining rapidly, and whatever they may be taking isn't enough to keep up with their demands, or they might not be taking anything at all. We also see over a long period of time, and sometimes a short period of time, depending on how stressful the event is, it could be an isolated incident that causes so much stress that they actually stop producing thyroid hormone, which then turns their whole engine almost in an off position. So then they stop sleeping, they can't turn their brain off at night. So it really kind of trickles down to every process in the body. So what I like to do first off is get them balanced, test them and get them balanced, but then really impress upon them that we have to do the basics. The basics are, we have to get you to sleep. Whatever it takes, we have to get you to sleep, because that's the best time for your body. It's really the only time for your body to recover. So the body has to go through that rehabilitation process every single night for a minimum of 8 hours. If you're stressed, you should be sleeping more like 9 or 10. Which is the exact opposite of what people do.
I love naps.
Naps are good too.
I took one Saturday, I took one Sunday.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Yes, stress needs to be rested out, and exercise. You know, when I was talking about your system being flooded with sugar or glucose, you have to have some way to burn that off. Otherwise, it's going to go in the fat cells, and you're going to gain weight, and you're going to have a lot of inflammation in your body. So you have to have some way of burning it off, and exercise is really absolutely the most excellent way to do that. And many times, patients or people that I work with can actually get out of the workplace or out of the home for 20 minutes at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when everything's just really kind of at its peak as far as stress.
Yeah.
And go for a 20-minute walk or a 10-minute walk and try to burn some of that off. I think what would be better is if they could get to the point that they don't have anything to burn off. And one of the studies that just got released, Perry, that I wanted to talk about today is so interesting to me. 10 years ago, they did a study, and they looked at people that were under stress, and they had a formula by which they were measuring how stressed they were. But they picked 700 people, and they looked at how they managed their stressful situation. And then they took a segment of that population that did not manage the stress well. They were angry, they were overwhelmed, they were hopeless, they felt like they were not going to be able to get on top of their stress. And then they watched those people for 10 years. So 10 years later, they actually went back and looked at those people as far as how is their health, what medications are they on, what life illnesses are they suffering from 10 years later. And they found out that there was this overwhelming percentage of increase in depression and anxiety, and being treated for depression and anxiety, because 10 years earlier, they were looking at their stress as being hopeless, being overwhelmed, They were singled out. Many of them were very angry. So more of the emotional component of stress. And interestingly enough, when they tie heart disease and stress together, the big connection is the emotional component. It seems to be the most cause of the most toxic stress. So I would say if you're feeling very hopeless or very angry and you can't seem to let go of that anger or bitterness, that you need to know that your chance of depression or anxiety down the road is very significant. So that's something that we should be thinking about.
Well, everything I read about antidepressants is not good. I haven't read anything about an antidepressant that would give me an idea that that's the way to go.
And they're handed out like absolute candy.
Yeah.
It's very worrisome.
Okay.
It's very worrisome because what happens, Perry, is that I think that sometimes they're needed and sometimes they're helpful. But what happens, I think, over time is you don't really manage the problem. You're taking a medication that doesn't allow you to manage the problem. And those are the people I'm most concerned about.
All right, let me take a quick break. We'll be right back. Nisha Jackson's with us, and we're talking about stress. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to join us, 541-776-5368, or toll free at 800-373-5368. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Well, we're back with Nisha Jackson, Ventana Wellness, and a tremendous resource, her clinic and her website. It's ventanawellness.com, and you can go there and get all kinds of information. And let me encourage you to check it out. And as you know, one of her associates is Dr. Joel Klein. He's in here with us a lot. We like Joel a lot. He's kind of high. You talk about a high-energy guy. What does he put on his cereal in the morning?
He is high energy. I know. And he's so sharp.
Yeah. I don't know. I told him, I said, Joel, I don't know what you put on your cereal in the morning, but I want some of that stuff. But today we're talking about stress. And I don't think there's anybody out there today that isn't dealing with this issue. And the question is, are you properly managing it well? And Nisha's here to give us some stuff. Boy, you got the phones lit up. Let's take a few calls.
Yes.
And see where all this is going to go. And again, it's ventanawellness.com is the website if you want to get some information. All right. Hi, you're on the air with Nisha. What's your question today?
Yeah, am I on the air?
Yep, you are. Go ahead.
Hey, I had a question. I would like for her to touch some more about on the lack of sleep and the mind not shutting down at night, and what kind of solution there is for that.
Great stuff. Great question.
And I'd like for her to go into that.
Okay.
Pretty heavy, and I'll just take the call offline. I can hear it on the radio.
Okay, thanks for calling in. That's a biggie, isn't it?
You know, it really is. So the classic, when somebody comes in and sits down and they say, I am exhausted during the day, I'm not managing my stress, I'm flying off the handle, I get sick frequently, I'm irritable, I'm seeming to pick fights with my wife or my husband or whatever, and then I lay down at night and I can't turn my brain off. I am exhausted, but I'm wired. And that is the classic reverse cortisol rhythm. So cortisol is actually the stress hormone we were just talking about. It's meant to be elevated during the day so that you have really good focus and stamina and health, and you're able to manage stress well. You're sharp with your brain. You can get words. You find words easily. It prepares your body not to be sick. It boosts your immune system. So it's meant to be elevated during the day. But then first thing in the morning, it should be at its highest. And then by the time you go to bed at night, it should be at its lowest. So that's what tells your brain it's time to go to sleep. So when people are under chronic stress or even acute stress, they eventually get a reverse pattern, typically. So they're underproducing cortisol during the day because their body can't keep up with the demands during the day. So their body eventually, the adrenals, underproduce cortisol. But then by the time you get home in the evening, or you're settling down in the evening in your easy chair, if that even happens, your body finally says, woohoo, this person's not asking me to do anything. Now I can make some cortisol.
Okay.
And then you can't turn your brain off. It's like somebody just plugged you in. So the best thing to do is to take adrenal support supplements. And I really honestly don't know any other way to fix the cortisol at night, because there's no medication for it. Well, there is medication for it, but it's prescription medication that you shouldn't be on. So that would be sleeping pills, anti-anxieties, which is how we're treating it today. But a better way to treat it is to go right to the problem, and that is reversing the adrenal rhythm so that you can get that level very low at night. The most excellent supplement I've ever seen do it is something called Stress PM, and it's phosphorylated, not phosphatidyl, but phosphorylated serine, and it's very safe to use. We can use it in younger children, and it blocks the cortisol at night. It's not a sleeping pill. It blocks the cortisol at night so it doesn't keep going up, so you can actually safely turn your brain off, and it works excellent. So, and then of course we get the cortisol up during the day by supporting the adrenal glands during the day.
I had two other little parries to it.
Yeah.
Don't eat late. Give some good time between the time you eat and the time you go to bed. And we took the TV out of our room 6-7 years ago.
Yes. The TV and the computer is a disaster with it. Within 1 hour of going to bed, you should not be looking at a screen.
Took it out. And I have to tell you, now, I shouldn't say that because I encourage you to watch the TV, but when
1 hour.
When I go to bed, it's I usually read, do some of my Bible reading, or listen to a good Bible lesson on the Dove radio, but I try to switch my mind from all that stuff.
Yes. Yeah, there's certain things that spike cortisol. Sugar, alcohol, the brightness off a computer screen or a TV screen, or anything emotional. Or exercise. So some people that are exercising very late in the evening, especially right up to bedtime, you're stimulating cortisol. That's not really what the body's supposed to be doing. And don't answer any disturbing emails right before you go to bed, because you can't, again, your body can't decipher what's what. So don't feed it information that's going to make you emotional.
Well, sleep is a big one. I know that you're really, that's where it all starts. Now, how do you start this? You do this with a blood test, right?
Right.
And what are you looking for?
So when I bring somebody into the office, I don't have a standard testing procedure. I really listen to their symptoms and their history and maybe what some of their risk factors are. But if somebody is under quite a bit of stress, I like to look at that whole adrenal, ovarian or testicular, the male or female hormones, and the thyroid. I like to start with that profile, because that's like a three-legged stool that's meant to be in balance all the time. And if one area is down, like if somebody is under a lot of stress and their adrenals are not working well, like they have that reverse rhythm we just talked about, typically there's something else going on too. And then I really like to look at the diet, because the diet is a problem in that if you're under a lot of stress and you're producing just these erratic amounts of cortisol during the day, where it's up and it's down, and you're overstimulating your adrenals, you're probably having issues with blood sugar. So you're having a lot of cravings during the day, your blood sugar's up, and then you eat, your blood sugar's down, and then you eat something sugary, and then your blood sugar goes up, and then you're just chasing your blood sugar all day long. Because this is how we manage stress. We use quick carbohydrates, they're called comfort foods, and then you just chase it all day long, and it makes you feel worse. So every time your blood sugar drops, your body has to release more cortisol, because that's a stressful state for your body.
All right.
So that's one thing that we don't want you to do.
Where does overall sugar intake and salt intake, are these factors?
Sugar intake is a problem because, again, you get in that chasing the sugar all day long, which makes your body more stressed. So we're trying to reduce the stress onto the body. So eating frequently, but making sure that your carbohydrates are very high in fiber. So if you're going to have a carbohydrate, you should have something that's very high in fiber, fruits, vegetables, whole grains that are very high in fiber, not the quick carbohydrates that don't have any fiber in them at all, because that slows the release of sugar. And then always trying to have something that has protein in it. My patients who are vegans or vegetarians are the ones that suffer often the most, because they're not getting enough protein or essential proteins to to balance their glucose levels from one meal to the next. So, and then getting enough good fat in their diet, not the bad fat, the fried food fats, but the good fat like the avocados and the nuts and the seeds and olive oil, or your favorite oil out there. So those foods really help satisfy you. You will notice also that if you're under a lot of stress, you will crave fat, because that's actually what your adrenals need to support them, is a good amount of healthy fat. So if you find yourself craving peanut butter or nuts, that's what I always crave when I'm stressed, is just a big spoonful of peanut butter.
No, wait a minute. That it's here at the Dove. It's its own food group. It's not out there yet,
No.
but by the end of the morning, there'll be 2 jars of peanut butter open out there.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, maybe everyone's stressed here. But that's a big one. If you talk to people, often they say, I'm
so
craving
peanut butter's
peanut
not
butter.
good?
Well, peanut butter, especially organic peanut butter, is great. But you don't need a lot of it because it's very fattening, too. So, again, small amounts. So, yes, small amounts.
Everybody hear that out there?
Yes.
No, we eat a lot of peanut butter around here. All right, so this is really a time in everybody's life where they seem to be a little bit stressed out. And exercise, I know you're big on it, but everybody thinks they got to go to the gym and get on this routine and do it. I have found out the hard way. It was the hard way. I can be in and out of the gym in about 40 minutes. I don't have to go there and act like I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right,
And I'm not into that. I just want a good cardio, weight resistance, fast routine, and I'm done. And I do that maybe 3 times a week, and I'm fine.
Right. We have to change our mindset about what exercise really is. Like this morning, I had to take my daughters to the airport, and I didn't have a lot of time to exercise, so I have a spin cycle in my house, and I knew I only had 20 minutes. And I like to exercise longer than that, but 20 minutes is all I had. So what you have to do if you have 10 to 20 minutes is you have to go intense. So, and you may need to work up to this over time, but you do these intervals of intensity. So if you have 10 minutes and that's all you have, you could do this outside or at your house or at the gym, where you literally start exercising for 1 minute and then you go as fast as you can for 1 minute, and then you slow it down for a minute and then you go as fast as you can for 1 minute, where you're just pushing yourself about every other minute, or even every 2 to 3 minutes if you're just starting out. So there's no reason why people can't exercise. If you have chronic pain, there's something that you can do. There's all types of exercise that you can do to get your heart rate up. So the other thing I want to make sure we say today is there's a little pressure point, I'll show you here, between your index finger and your middle finger. So right in between, at the base of the fingers, in between the index, the pointer finger, and the middle finger, right here at the bottom, if you massaged that area right here, and you can massage it with your thumb, when you're stressed, it will relax you quickly. So that's a really good pressure point. That's something you should know, again, right here at the base. In fact, you know what's interesting? I've noticed in meetings or interviews with people, I've noticed that people intuitively just do this. Have you ever seen people rub their hands like this?
Yeah. Didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, and they probably don't know either, but that actually will help reduce stress. It's a pressure point, almost like the roof of your mouth is a pressure point, and it reduces stress, which is probably why people like to eat crunchy things when they're stressed, because it's hitting the roof of their mouth. So probably would be good if we all just had pacifiers in our mouths because we'd be less stressed. But eating crunchy foods like nuts and seeds would actually be good for stress. But this would be a non-calorie way of doing it, is that pressure point right there.
All right, before we run out of time, if people, they know they're stressed, if they don't address this, what are some of the consequences?
So consequences are, we know, scientifically has been proven that your risk for diabetes goes up dramatically. Your risk for heart disease because of the inflammatory factors goes up dramatically. Your risk for cancer goes up because a lot of people don't understand the connection between stress and cancer. and also age-related illnesses, but cancer for sure, because your body is so busy taking care of the stress, mobilizing all of the internal forces to take care of the stress, that it can't work on keeping your immune system elevated. So then your immune system is compromised. Your risk for depression is dramatically improved. We've known that for a while, but this recent study really kind of calls it home to us, and anxiety. So those are some of them. There's often many more that we could talk about. Inflammatory issues, chronic pain, headaches, insomnia. So the list goes on and on. But the big ones are diabetes, heart disease, cancer, depression.
Okay. And water. Last question.
Water is very important.
I want you to know.
You always bring it back to water.
Is that water?
That's very good.
Okay, that's
and
water.
You've been doing so good on your diet.
Well, I'm trying. I'm under a lot of stress.
Your lifestyle. It's good. So if you're under a lot of stress, I think the take-home message is do the basics. You have to keep the basics going. Otherwise, something unfortunate is going to happen. Breathing, sleeping, eating, getting rid of the sugar and the processed carbohydrates. And telling yourself that this will pass. Next week, how is this situation going to look next week or in a month from now? It's not going to be that bad. It hardly ever is as bad as we think.
There you go. I tell you what, check it out. And if you need testing, you can call Ventana Wellness and make an appointment at ventanawellness.com. It's a great resource, and get on a program today. Let me encourage you. I think it's a stewardship issue to take care of yourself and start walking. That doesn't cost anything. Drinking water, make some kind of a change, and then one will lead to the other, and before you know it, you'll be on top of this a little bit at a time. Well, thank you, Nisha.
You're welcome.
Good stuff all the way around. All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Welcome back. Hey, our own Steve Johnson had a chance to talk to somebody, Orrin Hudson. Now, I don't know if you recognize that name, but he is a champion, extraordinaire. Yes, he is a chess champion. And, well, I'll tell you what. I'll let Steve and Orrin talk, and you'll get the story. Let's join them.
Well, it's not every day that we get to talk to a chess champion, but it is great to be able to talk to Orrin Checkmate Hudson today. And so the first question I have for you, Orrin, how does one become a chess champion? I mean, you have to play a lot of rounds, I suppose. How long does that take to become a champion once you start the competition?
Well, you know, I think it's based on commitment. If you're committed to learning what's going on and you're studying the patterns, then you become a champion probably in a few years. Depends on how your work ethic is and how much time you're willing to put in it. But being a chess champion is not hard if you're willing to put in the work. And I tell people all the time that all things are possible if you work hard and apply yourself.
Now, your story is kind of interesting because, as I understand it, you really weren't that interested in school or anything that would cause a discipline like chess to have to be within your early years of school. Is that right?
Right. Well, I mean, I got introduced to the game of chess by a white teacher in All Black High School, and it saved my life. So I owe my life to a teacher who took the time to show me how to think strategically about my future.
And that's something like, what grade would that have been where that started?
Well, you faded out. I didn't quite hear
you. Oh, okay.
But
what grade was that you started on that road to starting to think more like a guy playing chess, a chess champion?
I was in, I learned the game when I was in the 9th grade, and I really didn't get into chess tournaments to probably a few years later because I felt like I wasn't good enough to participate. But my whole mission in life is to teach young people how to think strategically about their future. My message is think it out, don't shoot it out.
Okay, so you took this into an organization called the Be Someone Foundation, and that's all based on kind of your experience with chess and how you've kind of worked with youth. Is that right?
Yeah, my foundation is based on thinking strategically about your future, making every move count, and learning from every decision that you make. My message is heads up, pants up, grades up, and the big one, never give up.
Now, let's talk a little bit about your background in that, because it sounds like that had a huge impact on what you're doing right now. When you started connecting with this teacher who started teaching you chess, what did you find out about yourself that you didn't know before?
Well, I found out that patience is a virtue. Sometimes you got to learn to wait, and sometimes you got to study yourself. You know, study what you're doing and how you can improve, and always try to improve. Always try to respect others. Always try to think before you move, because one move could cost you the game.
Now, I suppose you found that you kind of liked chess. Were you surprised at that before you actually became really good at it?
Well, I love it, and when you love what you do, it's not work at all. You love doing it, and I love to solve problems. So chess is a way of solving problems and dealing with what's in front of you, staying in the moment. To be successful in this world, you have to deal with what's in the moment. Can't focus on the past, can't focus on the future. You got to deal with what's in the moment. So staying in the moment. Chess is about a live game. It's a great game. It's a live game, and it's dealing with what's in the moment in real time.
And let's talk about how you actually take the Be Someone Foundation and put that into play. What do you do in the schools?
I go in and I set up a big chessboard, and I teach the children by actual experience how to think on their feet, how to solve problems in real time, how to make every move count, how to think before you move, and how to just learn from every decision that you make. When your opponent make a move, you got to make a move, and you got to learn to wait on your opponent. Don't get in a rush, because you don't want to give your opponent any clues on what you're going to do. So you got to be cool, calm, and collect, think things through, and ask yourself, is this true? Is this honest? Is this the best move I can make?
Do you find that that's probably the biggest problem, is the focus aspect? Because we think of so many things taking our attention these days, whether you're a child or an adult, and we're just very short minded, I guess you'd say, that if it's not happening now, it doesn't matter. I'm not thinking about strategically in the future or anything like that. Do you find that kids are almost too much ADHD influenced because of all the electronics around us and everything else, that this has to be a new way of thinking for them?
Yeah, I think chess is a way to kind of like calm you down a little bit, help you sit back and kind of like learn to wait and learn to respect your opponent move. Because sometimes in chess, your opponent, you could get so caught up in what you're going to do that you forget about what your opponent going to do. So it teaches you to, okay, you got to respect what your opponent do, because you can't get so focused. Sometimes you get tunnel vision. Tunnel vision, when you're so focused about what you're going to do, you're not even thinking about what he do. You got to stop and respect what he does and then make your move.
Do you find that's a tough thing to teach kids?
Well, it takes time, because a lot of students are trained for instant gratification. So it's a learning curve that they got to go through, but it helps them later in life.
Now, how does that work with students who perhaps they've never thought of this before? Do you find that some discover that they actually can do this a lot easier than other kids, and they're rather surprised by them, almost like it sounds like you were for yourself?
Well, I think it's self-discovery. You learn by trial and error, and chess is a silent teacher in that it teaches you, oh, yeah, you can't do that. Oh, put that back. Oh, no, don't do that. Oh, no. It's a silent teacher, so it teaches you by actual experience how to think things through, and then you learn from your decision right there on the spot. Instant learning, because when you make a mistake, sometimes your opponent can jump on it. Sometimes you can make a mistake and you can't see it for 5 moves down the road. But sometimes you can learn right away things not to do. So
okay.
It's a great teacher.
With what you bring into the classrooms there, do you find that this is kind of a mentoring aspect for you and the kids, or is that a difficult thing to do that takes even more time?
Well, it's a mentoring thing. It's mentoring because that's what I do. I'm a mentor and I'm a coach. And I show children how you lead by example, showing them how, you do this, you do that first. And I tell them the right move is not the right move unless you make it at the right time. So sometimes you got to learn how to make the right move, and you got to do it in the right order, sequence. Sequence is critical because if you get things out of order, it could cause you a lot of trouble in court, in life, and everything. So you got to do things in the right order. If you miss one button in your shirt, then all of them are wrong. So the right move is not the right move unless you make it at the right time.
Now, I understand you wrote an open letter to President Obama. What was in that letter?
I just told him I'm going to be getting an award from the FBI. I'll be in the Washington, D.C. area for a couple of days, maybe even longer, and would love to connect with the White House and put a message out about, thinking before you move. Every move has consequences. And my message is brains before bullets. Think it out. Don't shoot it out. Every day, 2 months ago, there was a shooting every day in every school. So we got to find a way to teach young people to think it out, don't shoot it out. Heads up, pants up, grades up, and the big one, never give up.
Okay, now you have to tell me about this award from the FBI. How did that happen?
I don't know. I really don't. I just got a phone call. I got a phone call, and they said, well, look, we heard about some of the great things you've done. We know you train a lot of kids, and you're all about crime prevention. See, I'm a former state trooper. And so I discovered putting people in jail doesn't work. We got to prevent them from going in jail in the first place. So the FBI realized I'm on a mission to teach young people and to prevent crime, because I tell young people all the time, if you pull a gun on a police officer or someone else, then your life is over. So think things through before you do it, because if you pull the gun on someone, your life is over as well. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, before you go out to seek revenge on someone, dig 2 graves, meaning that, vengeance doesn't work. You got to figure out a way to choose peace over violence, think it out, and don't shoot it out. So my mission is about teaching young people how to solve problems peacefully.
Now, you're based out of Georgia, is that right?
I'm based out of Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Okay. Is the Be Someone Foundation, is that also expanding? Because I know you've traveled around the world with this kind of a message.
Well, my goal is to go all around the world. I would love to come where you guys are. My goal is to train 1 million young people worldwide. I've trained 40,000, so I have a long way to go.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you certainly have the desire for that. Let me ask you this. You had one individual who paid attention to you to show you the potential you didn't even know you had. What would you suggest to other adults who might be able to, maybe they don't even have that sensitivity to look around? What should they be looking for in kids to be able to say, here's one that is reachable and I need to spend the effort to reach out to them?
Well, I would say never give up. I mean, you take my situation, I had a white teacher in an all-black high school that took the time to teach me chess and spend some time with me, and just let children know that they all have their own unique combinations and power, and that some of them may not have the book smart, but they may have other intellectual abilities that will offset and make up for the other things that other people can't do. I just would say, don't give up on them, and let them know that everyone's important, and that everybody was born to be a star at something, and the purpose of their life is to discover their unique combinations of power.
Now, without that one person in your life, do you think you would have become a state trooper, a chess champion? I mean, what do you think would have happened to you if you hadn't had somebody reach out to you? I
probably would have ended up in jail or locked up like some of my friends did. I was raised in a bad neighborhood, and at one point I was hanging out with these guys, and they say, go do this, you do it, go do this, you do it. I was following the follower. So the main thing my teacher taught me is don't follow the follower, be a leader. That, you got to get around people, make sure the people you're following are qualified to lead you. And so I started getting around people who are making better choices and better decisions.
Have you found that this kind of also went to some of your friends when you were young, when you were, like you said, in 9th grade and that person reached out to you? Did they also tap into this, or was this something mostly you just did yourself?
I think it's mostly me, maybe a few other people, but it's mostly me. And, I took it to heart. And a lot of my colleagues, they didn't stick with it. So I stuck with it, and it paid off. And I'm living my dream because a teacher took the time to teach me how to think strategically about my future.
Oh, now you've got this letter to President Obama. Do you think you're going to hear back from him?
Yeah, I think some good things are going to happen in a few weeks. So stay tuned.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, maybe we can do a follow-up interview.
And President Obama, if you're watching this and you hear it, I want to challenge you to a match so that we can save young people and help me reach my goal of teaching 1 million young people how to play chess and make every move count.
I read your letter. I didn't know. Does President Obama play chess regularly?
Well, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I do know that I've read somewhere where he plays chess. So chess is an excellent game to teach people how to solve problems peacefully. And we need to teach young people that every move has the consequences and that black and white is the same. So it's not about blame, it's about aim. And the key concept is to aim high.
All right, Orrin Checkmate Hudson, thanks. You've been an inspiration to all of us, I think. Thanks for being with us today.
BeSomeone.org.
Wow, great. Very inspiring. All right, coming up next, a lot of folks have been asking, all right, Perry, where are you exactly with the Dove moving into its new home? Well, I'll tell you when we come back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at the Dove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on the Dove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Well, welcome back. I thought I'd take a few moments today and give you an update on where we are with the Dove moving into its permanent home. And it's been really quite an exciting thing that's going on with everything to get all the details worked out. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of details. And it's been really quite the experience to go through this. Back in September, we were offered an opportunity to purchase a building within our current budget, in terms that fit the Dove budget. And this was a real answer to prayer because, well, for 30 years, the Dove has been renting facilities. And each time we'd move into a facility and years would go by and we'd outgrow it. And then since we've been here, we've added television to the operation. And that has been not only a huge success and very impacting in many, many ways, but it has pushed us to a maximum ability and what we can do in this current location. So we've been actively looking for a facility for quite some time, and all of this fell into place. And so since September, we've been working on the details to get everything worked out. The building is located out at the Jackson County Airport, and because of that, there are some issues that we have to deal with to meet all of those qualifications as well. And we've been slowly going through those, and it's been challenging, but we are making progress. We're getting each one of these details worked out, and it takes a whole lot longer than you anticipate. And we have gotten down now to the last issues as it deals with the paperwork. And we're hoping that that will finally be resolved even this week. In the meantime, we have been planning just how we're going to literally move the Dove radio and television. Can you imagine what that would possibly include? We have all the television operations, which is a bunch of computers and editing equipment and broadcast equipment. How do you move that without losing any airtime? Big question and a big challenge. And the same thing on the radio side, because the Dove radio has gone from 1 station to 4 stations and 9 translators. How do you move all of that and not lose any airtime? So behind the scenes, we've been working very hard mapping out a plan, just how we are going to go about this, with our goal in mind, not only to do it as efficiently as we possibly can, but to hopefully not have to go off the air at all. And that's been our goal. And so we've slowly been strategizing how we would do that. And over the last couple of weeks, we've been asking you to prayerfully consider helping us with some purchase of some equipment that would be needed to expedite that move and hopefully make it totally efficient, and not have to lose any airtime. And thank you to the many of you who have been responding. It's just been so encouraging. Believe me, it has been very, very encouraging. And a lot of that equipment now has been purchased or is being purchased and is slowly arriving on the scene. And I would say over the next couple of weeks, what we'll be doing is working now and getting some of this equipment installed. The goal is to move the Dove into the building as quickly as we can and as efficiently as we can, and then finish the remodel once we are in the building. We save a lot of money doing that. Even though it's a little bit of a hassle, without getting into all the details, we save a lot of money doing that. In the meantime, you've been very gracious. Many of you have been responding to the needs that we have. We needed to purchase a new microwave dish and antenna so that we can literally move from one to the other without losing any airtime. That will help move the radio side of the Dove operation pretty much without losing any time at all. We can do that and you won't even know it's happening. On the television side, it's a little bit more technical and requires some more things to make it all happen. And so we're down to a couple of items, and one is a lighting grid which holds all the lights over the studio. If we can buy that and erect that before we go in and construct it and put it up, that will save in that overall operation. It will save us money in the long run. And that lighting grid will be used for years and years to come because it's modular. You can reshape it as you grow and things change. So it's really remarkable. And I think we still have quite a few pieces to go on that, and that averages about $100 a piece. So if the Lord's leading you to that, you can go to the website and help us with that. And then one of the other things that is big, really big, is moving the Dove television operation. We are digital, but to move it to HD, high definition. If we can make that transition while we are physically moving, we will save a ton of money in the long run, and the television station quality upgrade will be significant. I mean, huge. And that will help us with our negotiations with the satellite companies, which, as you know, have been going on for quite some time now. So we still have these needs, and I've always said when you support the Dove, only do it if the Lord's leading you to do it. And make sure that the Lord's leading you to do it. And it's a joy for you to do it. And if you can't, fine. And we understand. And just pray for what we're going through. This is a big deal. And but if you feel led of the Lord to help us, you can go to the Dove website. And right at the top of our website, there's a button that says help move the Dove, or help move the Dove. You can click on that and you'll see a list of things that we're still trying to purchase prior to the move, and you can help us there. Or you can call us anytime, 541-776-5368, and let us know what the Lord's leading you to do. Now, believe me, folks, we are where we are today because of your generosity and because of your investment in the Dove. When you look back in the 4 or 5 years now that Dove TV's been on the air, and how you helped us get into that, the response is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The Dove, through radio, television, mobile devices, the internet, is impacting lives far beyond anything we ever thought could happen. And it just seems like God is using it in a whole new level of impact. And the standard testimony we hear is this: I tuned in at the right time, and this is what I heard, or this is what I saw. And that fulfills the promise that the Lord told us, and actually the mandate that the Lord gave us. Produce the content. I will take the content and match it with the person's need at the right time. And that's what happens day in and day out. That, along with the Word for You Today devotional, is impacting people all over the area. So when you support the Dove, you're teaming up with us. You're one of us. That's how we look at it. And you make things happen in a level that we never thought to be possible. The building is not the final goal. The building is a tool that God has provided for us to expand television and radio content production, to reach more people with better programming. We can do live programming, more live programming. We can do more programs that include maybe a small audience. And we also now can continue on with our internship program and training students in what we do. And that's one of our great desires, is to train up the next generation of Christian broadcasters. So we need your help. We can't do it any other way. And pray for us. We're closing in on this fast, and we'll keep you updated as we get closer to the actual move. But if you feel led to help us, call us anytime at 541-776-5368, or go to our website. Right at the top, you'll see a little button that says Help the Dove Move. Click on that, and only do what the Lord's leading you to do. Thank you so very much for what you're already doing. You're making a huge difference. We deeply appreciate it. God bless you. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.